Hey everybody, Nick here, and today we're going to do a little disassembly and maintenance on this little guy right here. This is the Spyderco Sliverax. So you may have seen this already, but because I did a live disassembly when the knife first came in. But I figure I'll do a closer look and, give you a little bit of a tour, because this is an interesting knife in Spyderco's lineup, because they've done some things differently than I've ever seen Spyderco do. So anyways, let's pop it open here. First off, remove the pivot screw, and all three of these screws are T8, which is something I appreciate. It's not crucial, and I certainly understand that it can't always happen. But when a maker is using the same screw size throughout the knife, that's always one of those little, it's not, like I said, it's not crucial, but I feel the maker, giving me a high five through space, yeah, we got you, fam. It's a beautiful thing, because it saves a little bit of time and effort and whatnot. So, popping the scale loose, you can see the liner here. Lanyard hole fell out as well. That's fine, lanyard tube, that is. To disengage this, all you need to do is press down on the compression lock. That kind of frees some of the tension up out of the system, allowing you to lift this guy. Come on. He says, making it sound really straightforward. But the tolerances are tight there in the back. But that allows you to lift the liner off of this guy here eventually. There we go. And we're popped loose. And the knife is disassembled. So what we can see here are a couple of interesting details. Put that aside for the moment. First and foremost, I want to highlight the fact that, as I saw on the stream, this knife did not have a great action coming out of the factory. It was under-lubricated. It was not running so hot. And so coming from the factory, the first disassembly was a revelation. It really did improve this guy. I'm using a 91% rubbing alcohol right now to do the cleaning. But, and as always, I have a knife disassembly toolkit video that has links to everything that I use if you're looking to do this yourself someday, although you can always substitute things in there. This is available to everybody, so to speak. Okay, but anyways, the first disassembly really did make a big difference in the quality of the action and whatnot. So it's something I highly recommend that you do with this knife, almost more than a lot of knives out there. The Spyderco Sage 5 was very similar. It wasn't running that great out of the box. Then I cleaned it out. It was just like, bam. And so with Spyderco's Tai Chung line, it sometimes can be helpful to just pop it open and untune the action a little bit. Not that they were a bad factory, but they seem to send them out a little dirty sometimes. Okay, next thing to highlight is that this is using a very different washer system than Spyderco has used historically. I'm sorry, bearing system. Historically, they've been using these super thin bearings. To check this out, see the Spyderco Rubicon, Spyderco Domino, I don't remember if I disassembled that one, the Dice, certainly, all had that system. And some people gave them some heck for that, because that super thin washer had the possibility to divot and, well, that would lead to a very kind of bumpy action in it. It wasn't, there were possibilities for failure, and you can see here that they have revamped the system entirely here. They've moved to a phosphor bronze cage for the bearings. The cage, mind you, doesn't actually touch the knife. It doesn't need to be phosphor bronze, but clearly they had it around, and so they gave it a shot. But they're using a new bearing cage. And you can see here that the bearings are just turning. That's why. This little... Sorry, guys, unrelated. I was using this little swatch of fabric last night with some blade oil in order to clean to oil up blades for knives I was sending out to ship. No wonder. I'm like, why the heck am I cleaning this and it's getting oily? What? Well, now we know. And knowing is half the battle. So anyways, I just grabbed it because it looked clean. But it wasn't. No harm is done. Anyways, so I've now nicely oiled the internal of this guy. There we go. And we pop this out. It's worth noting that this little corner here is very, very sharp. Holy crap. That's a finger biter. So be careful with that. That's like cut you open sharp. It should never be an issue except when you're doing the disassembly. And if you're disassembling a knife, you should already be being mindful of sharp edges, but that's one to keep an eye on. So anyways, it's very different and should not have that problem of the pancaking mini washer. Another thing to highlight is this system here. What you can see here is that this knife actually has two sets of stop pins. So one of them is going within this internal track here. So it kind of slides back and forth through here. And it's this half stop pin. You can see it's only sticking halfway out. And so that prevents the blade from going any further in this internal direction here. But then similarly on the other side, you have this stop pin up at the top here. And both of these are making contact at the same time when the knife is open. So it gives the knife a feeling of solidity that's very strong. And as the designer explained on the Spyderco forum, because the compression lock puts a fair amount of stress on this top pin anyways, because that's how the compression lock works. You get this little leaf of that kind of sits in between the blade and then this pin, and so any force on the blade is transmitted through the leaf into this pin. They wanted to relieve some of the stress on the stop pin, so they put in this second one. So both of these is actually locking the knife up. This is something I misstated in my initial unboxing, so it's a thing. It's not the case that this has only half a stop pin. It's the case that it has 1.5 stop pins. So, you know, it's nice. Although, frankly, even if it were just to have a stop pin, it's fine. It's a gentlemanly sort of, well, I don't know, is this gentlemanly? But it's not like an, oh my God, hard use sort of an affair. So there you go. Next thing to highlight, one of the very common things, and something I've already seen done on the Spyderco forums, is this becoming a, people doing a non-flipper mod, removing the flipper tab from this knife. Because in some ways, it is a more satisfying knife to flick than to flip, because the detent on it is fairly weak. And so I can see why people would do that, and it's pretty straightforward to do that modification. You just have to grind it off of there. And in fact, my buddy Nico, who sent this to me directly, has asked me to work with somebody to try and get the flipper tab removed and then re-review it. So that'll be an interesting little sort of thing. Keep an eye out for that in the future. But okay, now we can start reassembling. I'm going to go ahead and drop the stop pin in on this side, because why not? And I've applied some 10-weight nano oil, and I've got it in a pen form right now, because it's easy to apply less of it that way. But, oh yeah, here we go. Look, you can see now, right here, there we go. You can see how the compression lock works. I'll move this out of the way. When the knife is closed, there we go. It hits the stop pin on this side. Compression lock is on the other side, providing detent force. When the knife pops open, watch this. The compression lock leaf pops into position between this stop pin, as I was saying, and the blade itself. And so in order for the blade to close, it's compressing this little leaf here. Nice little demonstration. And then the half stop pin lives down here. And so when the knife is, well, actually here, I'll put the other washer in, so we only have to do this once. Other bearing, that is, sorry. I'm struggling with something that is phosphor bronze but is not a washer. It's fine, but I'm struggling because I'm not a brilliant man. So I keep wanting to call it a washer. So then anyways, what we can see here is that once I pop this onto this, perfect, this half stop pin slots into place, and so the blade is captured both here, down here, and up here. And so you get double the security, if you will, which is good. Now we'll just pop everything back together, and actually we're ready to go here. This is this in position? I'm just double checking. The D-shaped stop pin is there, but it's not quite rotated exactly as I want. So I'm going to go ahead and use my driver to very slightly rotate that, I don't mean stop pin, I mean pivot here. I'm just going to rotate the pivot. Oh, there went my stop pin. Darn. All right. This is why you should always check the stop pin's position if it's D-shaped before you start reassembling everything. Because it's very easy once things are, when you're adjusting that, to send everything else out of whack. Okay, lanyard tube goes there. Half stop pin is in position on the outside. That's fine. I'll go ahead and put a little lubrication here. And while it's open, put a little lubrication on the detent ball itself. Now, if I press the compression lock down, Pivot should fall into place. What else is missing here? I have both bearings in, compression lock, both stop pins accounted for. I will press this down, which will allow this other stop pin to pop into position, along with the pivot to fully engage. Okay. Good. Now I'm going to put the scale on the top here so I can start adding screws back into the process. Seat the lanyard hole first because it's the most prominent. Now we will go ahead and put this guy back together. I'm going to use a little bit of Loctite and a stick here. Blue Loctite, not the red stuff, or the white stuff that Tai Chung is using, which is still a little aggressive for my taste, although way better than the red stuff that Golden was using for a while. Golden being the Spyderco factory in Golden, Colorado, USA Earth. Pop this closed again. Pop this closed again. No, it's not remotely what I did there. I screwed in a screw. Oh, guys. Oh, guys. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and Loctite this little screw here. Maybe a little much. There we go. Pull some of that off. And... oh, come on. There we go. And we'll should be all set here. I think I've got the pivot too tight right now. Just feeling the action. I think that's slightly out of whack. So let's go ahead and back the pivot screw tension off just a little bit. Nope, still too tight. There we go. No blade play. Oh, that's nice. The tent is still a little soft for sure. Really need to preload that flipper tab a little bit. But runs very smoothly, beautifully scented, nicely done. So there you go. That's your Spyderco Sliverax, disassembled, maintained. Hope this has been interesting. I really encourage you to do that with this particular knife. It makes it a world better than it started off. And yeah, hope this has been interesting. Have yourselves an absolutely wonderful rest of the day. Bye now.